Consider converting to moss if you want a lush green lawn without the maintenance that grass needs. A moss lawn can thrive in almost any climate and requires little upkeep. It's a Sprouted Seeds YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. The benefits of a moss lawn. The benefits of adding moss to your yard are numerous. It won't need to be mowed, which will reduce pollution and the need for fossil fuels. It won't need herbicides or fertilizer like a lot of conventional lawns. Furthermore, once established, moss doesn't require additional watering. In regions where dry spells are frequent, moss will go dormant and wait for the next downpour to absorb moisture. Companion trees and shrubs benefit from the rapid absorption of water by moss, which then returns the water to the surrounding areas. For insects and birds that depend on it for food and habitat, it is extremely advantageous. The drawbacks of moss. Even with all of its benefits, having a moss lawn has certain drawbacks. In general, their cost is higher than that of conventional lawns. This is due to the fact that beginning a moss lawn is more expensive than just installing sod or scattering grass seeds. Finding the ideal spot for planting can be challenging. Finding moss that can thrive in sunny areas can be difficult because most moss types prefer shade. Moss is also resistant to foot traffic, though it is not advised in high traffic areas. To lessen the impact, you might want to install a walkway in these areas. Moss growing zones. The fact that moss grows in the majority of USDA growing zones is an additional advantage. However, switching to a moss lawn is probably not something you should do if you live in an extremely dry, arid climate. Most popular types of moss. Hypnum imponens. Often called feather moss, this type grows slowly to create a soft carpet and can withstand light foot traffic. Leucobrium albidum. Pincushion moss is a type of moss that grows well in places with little foot traffic, such as the vicinity of a tree. It has adaptable requirements for soil and sunlight. Dicranum scoparium. In areas that are partly to fully shaded, mood moss can tolerate drier soil types. This type of moss can grow in complete shade. Deuterium delicatulum. This type of ground cover is great for damper environments. It can reduce erosion on slopes and has small, fern-like fronds. How to plant moss. It is advised that you experiment with growing moss in a smaller area of your yard as opposed to committing to a complete landscape. Early spring, after the risk of frost has passed, is the ideal time to plant moss because it gives the moss time to acclimate before temperatures rise. 1. Test the acidity of the soil. When planting moss, the quality of the soil matters most. It needs acidic soil between 5 to 5.5. Soil acidity test strips are available online. 2. Prepare the soil. Remove any weeds and other debris from the area once the soil reaches the proper acidity. After that, rake the soil and turn it over. Before planting, thoroughly hydrate the soil and soak the moss to replenish its moisture content. Hydrated moss should have a green appearance. 3. Plant. Because moss doesn't have a root system that needs to be positioned precisely in the ground, planting it is generally simple. Place the moss sheets on the ground and firmly press them down. If wind is an issue, you can use lightweight rocks or landscape pins to secure the moss to the ground. After planting, give the area plenty of water to aid in the moss's establishment. How to care for moss. Moss requires very little upkeep, but there are a few fundamental requirements to remember when taking care of it. In general though, you won't need to mow the ground cover as it only grows to be about 4 inches tall. Moss doesn't require fertilization either. Moss may burn from fertilizer, turn brown, and eventually die. Nitrogen is the primary nutrient that moss needs, and it will take up nitrogen from rainfall. Sunlight. The majority of moss species cannot endure full sun living conditions. It should be planted in a fully or partially shaded area. Your landscape can probably support moss if it has a lot of large trees in it that shade the area from the sun. Soil. It is crucial to keep the soil at the right acidity for the type of moss you are cultivating. Water. After planting, moss requires a lot of water, but once the ground cover is established, it can survive solely on rainfall. However, during periods of intense heat and drought, this might alter. Moss will stay healthy and lush during hot weather if it receives a good morning soak in water. Moss will simply go dormant if you don't water it, even in hot weather, and will revert to its usual beauty after it rains. Weeds. Weeds are naturally discouraged by the dense growth of moss, though occasionally they may still be visible. You can manually remove any weeds that might sporadically appear in your moss lawn. Just be sure to press down on the moss afterward to reattach it to the soil. Additionally, you should regularly remove any trash and fallen leaves that land on moss. The moss will die if leaf debris is not routinely removed. A moss lawn is one of the most interesting alternatives to a traditional lawn. Of course, moss is not suitable for every garden, but if you decide to grow a moss lawn, it will definitely make your garden magical.